Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd here, Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan, and a little food for thought today for a segment of the RV industry that we, Haylett RV, we completely acknowledge we've done a very poor job addressing in the more recent years. It is a little bit smaller niche category, but I think it's a very important one, and that is for people who tend to not tow their RVs, for people who tend to seasonal or park camp or something like that, and oftentimes they buy a camper and or a site and the trailer just sits there, or the fifth wheel or the whatever. And most often, not always, I've seen people with a little 16-foot wolf pup do seasonal camping, but the traditionalist in that category is somebody who either has like a fifth wheel or a destination trailer. And that's kind of what I want to do today. I want to sort of boil down the benefits between a fifth wheel and a destination trailer, and maybe help you zero in which one might be a little bit better fit for you in that continuing trend that we have here at Haylett RV is always trying to help you find your second camper the first time. Now, a real quick housekeeping note, if you're not familiar with the term destination travel trailer, that is the technical phrase for what in the RV industry is often referred to as a park model. In serious nitpicky point of technicality, a park model is actually a different thing. That's more like a double wide. And one of the main differences is that these are fully self-contained, meaning they have their own water tanks, holding tanks. They do not have to be directly plumbed into like an on-site sewer. So if you prefer to use the phrase park models, frankly, here at work, we do it all the time ourselves. We're no different, but that's what we're talking about. And where it differs from a traditional travel trailer is that, I mean, look at this thing. It is long, it is strong, it is down to get the camping on. And it's just a bigger travel trailer. And just like normal, quote, normal travel trailers, if there is such a thing, you get the idea, they come in different trim packages. There's, you know, basic, advanced, deluxe, things like that. I think in this video, we're probably gonna spend some time looking at this Wildwood behind us for the reason that in terms of destination trailers, there's just nobody that even scratches the volume that these guys do. They're literally the only builder of destination trailers with all year round production. Everybody else builds some, stops, starts, stops. They're dedicated to doing this. And I think that that makes them one of the best at what they do, because when you have dedicated production like that, you can really zero in to just a laser level degree on what speaks to that buyer's, you know, mindset and segment. So starting at more of a surface level, what are the different benefits, advantages, qualities of these two things, a fifth wheel versus a destination trailer? Now for me, if I'm gonna boil this down ultra simply, which one do I think is kind of the best fit for a seasonal park site application? It kind of boils down like this to me. Do you ever plan on towing this thing? Ever? If so, fifth wheel's probably gonna be the better way to go, because it's going to offer you things like a suspension package, automatic leveling, things that are convenient for towing and going that a destination trailer, a real purist destination trailer, typically just doesn't offer. Here's a really big thing though. If you don't plan on towing it, maybe you don't even have a tow vehicle. Maybe you just want to say, hey, Haylett RV, what's a delivery quote to Timbuktu, wherever a stand? Well, we can deliver these things for you. You don't even need to have a tow vehicle, which, you know, we can do the same thing with a fifth wheel, but fifth wheels people tend to have a vehicle to handle that. But the thing is here, if you don't plan to tow it, you can take all of the money of the extra fifth wheel structure, the drop frames, the auto leveling, the lamination, which has helped keeping the weight down on the RV, which, since you're not towing this, that just isn't nearly as important. You can take out the fancy suspension package because you're not going to bounce it around. Now you're thinking, why would you take out the auto leveling? The answer is because you're going to get it there one time, you're going to park it, and basically you're going to leave it. Well, if you level it out on blocks, it's going to be sturdy and stable when you get there. And maybe you do it twice in your lifetime, but you just don't have to do it with any kind of frequency. So if you peel all of that money out of that fifth wheel, you can have something that's the same size, the same floor plan, and potentially as exaggerated as half the cost of some of these fifth wheels. Now, that is a relative factor. Depends on what kind of fifth wheel you're looking at. But for the type of fifth wheel that people tend to want to use for a longer term stay, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, there's no way you can touch the money on one of these things compared to a fifth wheel. That is the budget smart option right there. But it does mean you are, to a degree, kind of landlocked, if that makes any sense. Now, these also tend to be, because they're built with parks in mind, these tend to be super park friendly. Now, this one does have a slide on the door side. Many of them don't. But even this, the slide's all the way to the back of the RV. So that if you want to use all of that wall space up here for something like a deck, which seasonal type people often do, it's purpose built with that kind of function. A destination trailer tends to have things like a bigger water heater. It'll have more household style appliances, which makes sense for a trailer that's not going to be bounced around down the road. Now, sometimes people say, yeah, but those aren't as fancy as a fifth wheel. And that usually means one of two things. That usually means it's not fiberglass skin, which most of these have a fiberglass skin option, keep in mind, or some of the trim packages, meaning the equipment inside isn't the same as a fifth wheel. Well, keep in mind, these come in different trim levels too. Like this is a Wildwood Lodge, which is a more basic, it looks and feels inside like just a normal Wildwood, a traditional travel trailer. But there's also the Grand Lodge, which very closely resembles a lot of the things you get in a lot of fifth wheels out there. However, I've been very positive on these guys. That does not mean fifth wheels don't have some serious benefits that these things can't even match either. Now again, I've mentioned it a few times, but one of the most obvious differences between a destination trailer and a fifth wheel is the towability. If you're gonna spend a lot of time here, but then you wanna spend some time there and maybe move, or you wanna move north-south, you know, through there, you want a snowbird, sunbird, fifth wheel is mobile. Destination trailers, it's not that you can't tow them. It's just that it's a big, unwieldy RV, not made with the idea of towing really in mind. It's not that it's incapable of doing so, it's just that you're not going to enjoy the experience, I think, of doing it with frequency. I know some people who have bought a destination trailer from us who tow it around every weekend like a normal travel trailer. They do just fine. But that's a long trailer. They need the right truck, and you got to know how to handle that rig. That's not something, that's more than I feel comfortable towing. And guys, I've been doing this. I've towed a lot of different things over the years. So things like upgraded pin boxes, suspension packages, ride and handling packages, better tires, that stuff goes kind of hand in hand with a lot, not all, but a lot of the fifth wheel market. And again, if you're going to spend a longer time in it, I think a lot of the long-term use things like this Montana that I keep touching over here, they're going to have the better ride and handling packages. They're going to have the auto leveling because you're going to use those things. You'll get an actual return on your investment. Whereas in a destination trailer, you spend between $2,000 and $3,000 on an auto leveling system. You get it there and you push the button one time. Now what good's it doing you? Man, I think for the cost of a couple grand, I could set and level that thing one time. Or frankly, for a little bit of no money, I could pay somebody else to do it for me and never have to worry about it and still have that money left over. That makes sense to me. But you know, if you're thinking like I'm thinking, then you may want to get yourself psychiatrically evaluated, but that's a different thing. Now, one of the other major benefits of a fifth wheel versus a destination trailer is outside storage. Because frankly, destination trailers, you're lucky to get any sometimes. Typically, they might have a little pocket under the headboard area of the bed, but usually that's it. Now, right now, I'm not even in a fifth wheel what's considered a big outside storage compartment. I'm in an Eagle right now that gives me about 4 foot by 8 foot by, I don't know, 2 feet, 2.5 feet here of outside storage, which is more than most destination trailers have ever dreamed of having. So even a small outside storage on a fifth wheel translates into massive luxury space on a destination trailer. Now there's a little bit of a flip side to this because a lot of destination trailers, sometimes people will have like their own little mini shed or something like that at their site. Sometimes they have a little lawnmower, the lawn set, the patio set in there. That is a thing that's separate. It's a thing you have to budget in addition to. Whereas in a fifth wheel, man, it's just here. You can lock with a key. You know, it's secure. It feels, it's easy. It's all in one. But again, you're paying a lot of money compared to that destination trailer to get this, because of all the other things that go into a fifth wheel, that if you don't plan to tow at all, you may look into and budget, like, does my campground, my local park, always check with your local place, by the way, do they allow me to just build a little shed to be able to store all my stuff? And I mean, you know, if I get out of the way, you can see it's huge in here. It's huge, even with my fat dad bod in here. There's tons of room. Now, one of the other things that I talked about when I was over by that destination trailer, and I just want to use this as a good example, I said that it's very park friendly, it's deck friendly. Some people like to build big stair steps with smaller stairs so the mother-in-law, grandma, whatever, can make it in and out easily. Maybe you got a dog, you need to make a dog ramp, something like that. Some dogs don't like these steps. Well, because destination trailers tend not to have stable steps, it makes it far, far easier to manipulate the door side of your campsite, for lack of a better way to say it. Whereas this, it ain't going anywhere. Now, if you wanted to remove these steps and build a deck onto it, you could. But if you ever move the RV, you now have to put these steps back in place. And that's a lot of work, you know? And you can't just flip it shut. Well, then it's inside the door, you know? Now the door is rendered obsolete. So again, it really kind of boils down to me, are you gonna be towing it? Are you going to decorate, dress up your campsite? There's different benefits to different ideas, I think. And I kind of wanted to point that out because I've had similar discussions previously a couple years ago, but these steps basically didn't exist back then. So I think this is a new variable to enter into that equation. Now, as long as we're talking about steps, this is where we start getting past the surface level. This is some higher level thinking in comparing these two things. Do you have, or someone who will be with you regularly, some level of mobility impairment? Do you have a bad hip, knee, whatever? Do you got a little hitch in your giddy up? Fifth wheels will always have not just the steps outside, but typically an extra 3 steps inside to go from upstairs or downstairs. Now, some of these things where it's like a upper deck bedroom, upper deck living room or kitchen or something like that, you could be going up and down steps all day. Whether you go in or out of the RV, you're going up and down steps. And that is one of the cool things also about destination trailers. You don't got to deal with all the steps in those things. Another interesting thing, kind of, you know, another chip in the pile for destination trailers is just headspace. They are so wide open. Like this that we're in is like as small and compact as their field. This is a 1 living room slide. Many of them have opposing slides or extra long slides to make everything look and feel bigger. And what makes them feel huge is they have a taller ceiling. Now, in the living room, well, not the living room, because some things have an elevated living room. I'll say this, in the lower deck of a fifth wheel, you'll have an extra tall ceiling, and that's great. It makes you feel good. And a lot of living rooms have that extra big feel. But every room of a destination trailer will be big, wide open, and spacious like this. It makes the whole rig look and feel larger. It allows them to do things like add more ceiling fans that, like an elevated living room or kitchen, an upper deck living or kitchen just can't do because it would hit you as those blades spin around. When the ceiling is taller, the slide can be taller. It's got this whole cascade effect that makes the whole RV look so huge and feel so huge by comparison. And again, you never have to go up and down steps. So if you're a really tall person, a super frequent question I get is, how tall is the shower? How tall is the bedroom? You know, I notice I actually take pictures of myself a lot of times in the shower or flip the camera around. So I'm 6'3". You can see how big I am versus how big this thing is. Most fifth wheels have a 6.5 foot ceiling clearance in like a shower or bedroom or upper deck scenario. Now that can vary depending on how hard a nose tapers, but that's a guideline, not a Bible. Whereas most destination trailers start typically with an 8-foot ceiling. So in the world of travel trailers, 6.5 foot is normal, 6'9" is great, 7 foot is exceptional. These start almost always at 8 foot. Then when you get into something like we're in a lodge, Wildwood, when you get into a Grand Lodge, it gets 6 inches wider, 6 inches taller still. It gets absolutely enormous by comparison. So if you're claustrophobic, if you need the extra room, if you need to be able to stand in the shower, you don't want to duck in the bathroom, and you're not gonna tow it, that is like a textbook example of a destination trailer buyer. But that's the thing. The moment you want to start towing these things, it's like the idea of a destination trailer almost is completely null and void. Now I keep harping on this whole towing thing, but let me give you a thought here. And I don't know that it's something you want to do with extreme regularity, because in that case you may prefer the convenience of having your own vehicle. But what if you don't? What if you take the whole towing vehicle out of the equation? Let me throw you an idea. Whether we're talking a destination trailer or a fifth wheel, you're talking minimum 3/4 ton. And that's not even a big fifth wheel by today's standards. So what are you looking at in terms of a truck? If you find a used one with some miles on it, maybe 50 grand, and I mean, that's a steal. More realistically, on a big truck, you could be 60, 80 grand, okay? By contrast, what if, like, once or twice a year, you pay someone, I don't know, $1,200, let's just even say $2,000 to move this thing a very long distance for you. It takes a lot of years to overcome the cost of a truck. We have so many people that we work with here at Haylett RV now, because there's a joke in Michigan that once you hit retirement age, they kick you out and they send you to Florida, and half the time we call Florida South Michigan. And if you listen to the accents, or lack thereof, or whatever you want to call it, when you start going south from Michigan through the states, inflections in our voices change. Then you hit Florida and you sound like you're back in Michigan again, because we kick so many people down there. Well, I mean, you'd have to camp for 40 years and with like, to recoup the cost of a new truck and going to Florida once a year and then back. If your only purpose is to just haul it to, like, from here to Arizona and back once a year, you should seriously consider the idea of getting a smaller car that'll save you so much on miles per gallon, wear and tear, insurance, plates. Oh my gosh, there's so many benefits to it. Easier to park. As long as you're not going to be towing with any level of frequency. Now, there's a lot of people go, I don't like that. I want to be able to hitch up, tow, and go right now. I don't want to have to be at someone else's beck and call, and I respect that. But at the same time, for those kind of people, is it really any different than, like, if you planned a trip on an airplane, you booked it ahead of time, you scheduled it ahead of time. As long as you know when you're leaving, when you're arriving, you can work around that. And folks, you can save so much money doing it. And that's true whether you have a tiny trailer, a big trailer, a fifth wheel, a destination trailer. It don't matter. It's just easier. I've actually known 2 people in my career, these are obviously rare instances, who bought a big motorhome who all of a sudden went, I love this thing. I love the space, but man, I'm scared to drive this thing. And they actually have paid like a 2-person team to get it to their destination for them, and they just follow along in a little vehicle. And then some people might shake their heads at that, but it worked for them, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter how it works for you and me, it worked for them. So folks, hope you appreciate the look between the two today. At the end of the day, I think that they can both work, fifth wheels and destination trailers, just fine for seasonal or site use. But I think that they each offer some very specific benefits that you can't find in the other one. And I think there is a really clear dividing line right there for you. I don't know that there's a wrong way to go about it. I think it's just kind of like the whole somebody paid somebody to drive their motorhome for them thing. I think it's just a matter of what works for you. And if you appreciate the in-depth look today, please hit that little subscribe button, follow along here. We are family owned and operated. We've been here since 1989, and we don't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.
Oh, now I gotta crawl my way out of here. What an idea. Yeah, crawl in the hole. That'll be funny.
Hello. Cool. I should be good if you want to swing in. Awesome. Love you. Bye. Okay. Well, there we go. That was the wife.